And I remember, I'll never forget that day because my cousin called me and said, "Get on the TV, turn it on immediately. Something horrible is happening."
I was actually driving to work and I was listening to the news.
Regular hectic day, family in the kitchen. CNBC Squawk Box was on the TV in the background. Suddenly we hear Mark Haynes go, "Breaking news."
My husband had just taken my oldest daughter to preschool and I was still getting ready for work, and the TV was playing and saw it actually happen.
I was in college. I was in 7th grade in an IPC class in the morning.
We have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City. It happened just a few moments ago.
Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on this shot.
Oh my.
That's when I found out that Tower 1 was hit. And when I went to the office, we had a military, I don't know if I could do this, recruiting office next door. All of us went over to find out what had happened. And then, subsequently, shortly after the second one was hit. And I have to say, the reason why I'm emotional about this is because that's where I come from. I'm from New Jersey. I grew up 40 minutes and had been up in the Twin Towers many, many times.
And they do a live footage going on the screen, and he's still talking about it. And we're watching, and then we see the second plane hit the other tower. And we don't even know what we saw. We're just waiting for him to explain. And you can just hear the shift in his voice, like just the wheels turning and him going, okay, thinking to himself, this is not an accident. At that moment that this was a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. And we'd never experienced that in our lifetimes.
My daughter was about a month old, my oldest, and I was laying there on the couch and I had her right here on my chest, breathing into my chest. And I thought, as we saw the towers going down and people running and jumping and horrific. And I was just, literally sobbing.
At first, they kept saying it was just a mistake, like a plane had flown in. And of course, at that point, I'm drawn to the television where you just sit down and you start watching it. And then you see plane number 2 come through. Then the chaos just, expanded from that point. You couldn't believe it. The people on, the newscasters couldn't believe it. It was just, this was the hub of New York City.
We changed classes every 45 minutes. It was a lab class, so we had lab tables. We had computer desks going around the whole border of the class. 45 minutes was up, and they didn't let us out of class. The principal came into our class with a big roll of butcher paper, and he started covering all of the computers with the paper so that we couldn't be on the computers. And we stayed in that one classroom all day. First attack was in the morning, and we got out at school at like 3:45. I remember I was walking to the bus with somebody, and they said, they attacked the Twin Towers, and then it kind of sunk in. And then I went home. I really remember just seeing all of the people jumping from the buildings on TV, and they kept replaying it over and over and over. It was all over the news.
I walked into the living room, and my roommates were surrounded by the TV, and that's when I found out. I was in a sorority in college, and one of my sorority sister's mother was supposed to be a flight attendant on one of the flights that hit the World Trade Center. It was excruciating, but luckily she had gotten sick and was not able to make that flight. When we finally got the news, it was a joy that you can't even imagine.
Would you like to share with us a couple of the things that stood out to you in some of these papers?
It's a story about these two girls that probably grew up together, and they had a trip. They both left New York, and sadly they were on a different plane each, and each one of them perished on one of the planes that went down.
As a family member, to have to watch that and that's be your last memory would be horrific.
I was just so shocked because there was a level of confidence that I had being the daughter of somebody who was in the military. My dad ended up serving 35 years. So I just had this confidence that something like that would never happen to us. So when it did, It was super scary. I just never felt like a national fear like that. I always felt so confident and so proud that my dad was in the army and that we were so strong as a nation. Um, People who were so weak-minded and full of hate could manage to hurt just the strongest country.
Certainly we faced tragedies and wars, but we weren't in a war. These were just people who were going about their day. They were grandparents, they were children, they were friends. They were just trying to do right.
And then the first responders who ran to it, while everybody else was running out, they ran in. And that to me is so amazing about our first responders, that they're always the one running to the problem and the scary thing, while everybody else is fleeing.
There was this silver lining where I felt like there wasn't any racism and everybody felt unified and everybody was just American. And we haven't had that since 9/11.
But sometimes in such horrible tragedies is when we really get to see what people are made of. I think one of the things that I remember are all the ways that people came together in those difficult times. And so I think that that's something that we need to remember, all of those people. Not just the ones that we lost that day, but the ones that we've lost since. And the incredible bravery that we witnessed that day. That's something I'll never forget.